Hi guys, this is Miss Elkins here. I hope you're having a good day. Yesterday we learned about Pythagorean theorem finding the hypotenuse. Today we're going to do the reverse and find either the A or the B, or what's known as the legs. So that's our plan for today. It's not much different from what we did yesterday. You already know that the Pythagorean theorem states that side A squared plus side B squared will be equivalent to side C squared. And we use this to calculate the lengths of the different parts of a right triangle. This is not necessarily true, but it's on your notes, so I'm going to say it. A is the smallest side of a right triangle. It doesn't matter which side you call A and which side you call B. But for our purposes, B is the second smallest side of a right triangle. And of course, the hypotenuse is C, and it's always the longest side, and it's always the side that's opposite of the right angle. So that's how you know it's the hypotenuse, because here's the right angle. Oh, that's the hypotenuse. And then these two sides, I don't care what the notes say here, are actually interchangeable. You can call this A, and you can call this B. But it really doesn't make a huge difference. So finding the length of one of the legs, yesterday we added, today we'll be subtracting to find that length. So it says calculate the missing length, or missing side length. And so since I called this A, then we're missing side B. So we plug the numbers that were given into the Pythagorean theorem formula, which is A squared plus B squared equals C. We have A is 9. We have C is 41. The longest side is 41. So we plug both of those numbers in to the Pythagorean theorem, and we get this: 9 squared plus B squared equals 41 squared. Then we just solve the equation to get B by itself. So we square 9, that's 81. We leave B squared alone. We square 41, which is 1,681, and now we solve the equation by subtracting 81 from both sides, because that will get B by itself, or B squared by itself rather. So we subtract 81 from both sides, and now we know that B squared equals 1,600. So now all we have to do is find the square root of both of them. Well, the square root of B squared is just B, and the square root of 1,600 is 40. And you can use your calculator for this. Remember, you hit the second key and then the key that says x squared to find this, to get, that will give you the square root symbol. And you can plug in whatever number you need to find the square root of there. All right, so that's how this is going to work. We're just going to be subtracting. Okay, in this next example, it's calculate the missing side length, and you can see it looks like a ladder leaning up against the wall. This is a very common star type question where you'll have a ladder leaning up against the wall, and they'll want you either to find the length of the ladder, which would be the hypotenuse, the height of the wall, which would be A or B, or the distance of the bottom of the ladder from the wall. So it's a very, very, very common type question on STAR. So in this case, we'll say we're missing A because they said they're telling us that the shortest side is A. We have B and we have C. We have the hypotenuse and we have one of the legs. So we plug the numbers into the Pythagorean theorem formula, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So we say A squared plus 35 squared equals 37 squared. And then we just use our calculators to find that oh, there's a number missing here. I'm like, 5 squared is not 1,225. Somehow that number got dropped there. Sorry about that, guys. Solve the equation for A, or get A by itself. So A squared plus 35 squared, which is 1,225, equals 37 squared, which is 1,369. At this point, we just subtract this number from both sides, and now we have the equation A squared equals 144. Well, the square root of A squared is just A, and the square root of 144 is 12. The missing side length here is 12. All right? It's pretty easy stuff. Now, I'm going to tell you that if you call the wrong side A or B, you're still going to get the right answer because you can add in any order. So, I'm not going to be real picky about that. We'll just say this is side A and this is side B. And then, of course, the longest side always is side C. So we'll say, plug that into the Pythagorean theorem. 20 squared, that's A, plus B squared equals 29 squared. And then we'll solve this. Oh, sorry, forgot to put my square. Then we'll solve this equation for B. So 20 squared is 400. 400 plus B squared equals 29 squared, which is 841. Now, subtract 400 from both sides because remember, you're solving an equation. You want to get the variable by itself. The variable is B squared. So 400 minus 400 gets our B squared all by itself. 841 minus 400 is 441. And now we have to find the square root of B squared and the square root of 441. You can't stop until you get the square root. And it just so happens that 441 is a square number, so B equals 21. There you go. Very, very easy, just plugging in numbers and doing the math. And thankfully we have calculators to help us with this math. And the numbers can get pretty big and pretty scary, but remember, your calculator does all the heavy lifting for you. All right, so here we go. We'll say we've got A is missing, and this is B, and of course the longest side is always C of this birdhouse. So we're missing this side length here of the birdhouse. So we'll plug that into the Pythagorean theorem formula. A squared plus 28 squared equals 53 squared. So 28 squared is 784. Oops, sorry, I should have written that backwards, or didn't write that backwards. So A squared plus 28 squared, which is 784, equals 53 squared, which is 2,809. And remember, you can use your calculator for this. You don't have to do it by hand. Then I'm going to subtract 784 from both sides of my equation, just like we learned how to do at the beginning of the year. You have to get the variable alone to solve your equation. And now I've got A squared equals 2,025. The square root of A squared is A. The square root of 2025 is 45. That's actually a square number. If you do happen to get a number that's not a square number, just round it to the 10th place. One decimal is fine. Or one place after the decimal is fine. Okay, here's another example with a ladder up against the wall. This one, in this case, they threw this one in. This is giving us the A and the B, and we're finding C. So we'll go back to what we learned yesterday. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So that's 33 squared plus 56 squared equals C squared. So we're missing this side. So 33 squared is 1,089, and 56 squared is 3136. When we add those together, they will equal C squared. Sorry, I did my notes wrong. Let me add those up real quick. 1089 plus 3136 equals 4,225. And that equals C squared. Well, of course, the square root of C squared is just C. And the square root of 4,225 is 65. So there's another square number for you. And that's the end of our notes today. I hope you're having a good day. Please be kind to the sub. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.